how to cook perfectly seasoned soul food collard greens in your Instant Pot in just 45 minutes. Hey everybody, it's T from TNT Connect, and today we're going to be cooking some seasoned soul food collard greens in the Instant Pot. As you can see, these are the ingredients you will need. You will need your collard greens, some smoked pork neck bones, which is what I prefer, some black pepper, some garlic powder, some cayenne pepper, some paprika, distilled white vinegar, your Morton salt, doesn't have to be Morton's, whatever salt you prefer, as well as chicken broth and granulated sugar. Now let's discuss why these ingredients in addition to if there are any alternatives. Now, in terms of the chicken broth, it is a staple in my household. I don't know about you, but it tastes much better using the broth because the broth is somewhat seasoned and is not just water. So it adds more flavor to the greens. Granulated sugar, well, why sugar, Tanya? Well, sugar because at the end of cooking, if you actually taste your greens and maybe you have a tinge of vinegar and you don't want that vinegar taste, you can slowly add the granulated sugar to your collard greens while it's still cooking, so it'll take away some of the vinegar flavor. So that is to taste. That is not a guarantee this amount or that amount. It's to taste, and it is something you add at the end after your collard greens are done. Doesn't matter what salt you use, preferably white vinegar, not apple cider vinegar. You can use apple cider vinegar, but we're talking about making my soul food collard greens, and that does not call for apple cider vinegar because it gives a different distinct taste. And for those who don't like pork, you can always alternate your smoked pork neck bones for smoked turkey necks, smoked wings, or maybe some smoked bouillon cubes to just give that smoked flavor. But I cannot guarantee it's going to come out the way mine's will. So if you want it to come out seasoned, soulful, and be the person that everyone wants to taste in terms of your collard greens, you need to get these ingredients. Now let's get started. So if you have an Instapot, your Instapot automatically is the base, your top, which actually twists off, and inside your Instapot is an actual other pot. I like to take that pot out. So let's do that and put all of your fixing and your pot liquor here. Now the first thing you want to do is when you have your pot, you also want to make sure you have something that you're going to be able to stir your pot liquor and your meat together. And this is just what I use to put my spoon on because I don't like a mess in the kitchen. You also want to wash your collard greens. Just want to make sure I put that out there. Make sure you wash your collard greens. I like to wash my collard greens, cut them up smaller into shredded pieces, put them in a Ziploc bag and freeze them. That way, when it's time for me to cook them, they're already washed, they're already cut up, and because they've been frozen, they actually break down faster and they are much more tender when you cook them. So first thing we're going to do is make the pot liquor. Okay. Now the pot liquor, this is a 48-ounce chicken broth, and based on this Instapot, this should be the only size you need in order to pour in here to make your collard greens. So we're going to pour this here. Now in your Instapot, there are different levels that it will show on the inside. So depending on what you're cooking, make sure that you check to make sure that whatever liquid you're putting in here reaches the measurement that it's supposed to. It's different for everything that you cook because this Instapot not only pressure cooks, but it also sautés, it crock pots, it makes rice, it makes full-blown meals such as chicken. So just be mindful and read your instructions. But let's get back to the pot liquor. So I've added my chicken broth here, and I don't have to have a lot of chicken broth. Now, that's 48 ounces. Depending on where my pot liquor meets in terms of the measurement. Once I'm done, then I may add just a little bit of water, but not more chicken broth. So next thing you want to do is put your vinegar in. Now I know how to pour mine, so I know how much is what, but for 48 ounces of your chicken broth, you want at least 1 to 1.5 cups of vinegar. Okay. After that, be mindful, and I always keep my sugars and my salts in a Ziploc bag, because as you can see here, some salt then already came out sometimes of the crevices, and I don't like grit and stuff in the cabinet, especially sugar. That's when you start getting ants and bugs. So keep your salt in a Ziploc bag. But what I do is, please be mindful of which chicken broth you use. If you use regular chicken broth, you won't need a lot of salt. If you use low sodium chicken broth, then you may need to add a little more salt if you're looking to add that flavor. But overall, your pot liquor should not be salty. So how much salt am I going to put in? I know how much to pour, but just for your sake, I'm going to put in here about a quarter of a cup, okay, which is basically 2 ounces of salt. Not a lot. It's always better to add than to take away. Okay. Now I'm going to add about the same thing with the paprika. Paprika, I like a little more paprika, so this is going to be about 4 ounces of paprika. And for me, that's about 3 squeezes out of here. Yes, that's how many times I've done it. Your black pepper, same thing, 3 squeezes. Then you got your garlic powder. I like to add a little more garlic powder, so I usually do 4 to 5 squeezes of my garlic. I'm just waiting for myself to sneeze. And then some cayenne pepper. Don't be afraid. No, this is not going to be spicy, but what you want to do is you just want to hit this with just 2, just like you did the salt. Just 2 of the cayenne pepper. Just 2. Now, you're going to take your spoon and you're going to stir it. Excuse me. And just as I said, I knew the sneeze was going to come. If you don't sneeze, it's not seasoned right. All right. Now, I'm looking at the measurements within my pot, and I'm gonna need at least 2 cups of water. So I'm going to get 2 cups of water. All right, 2 cups of water. Stir it up. Now, you're going to put in your meat. Why am I putting my meat in the bottom of the pot, even though it's going in the Instapot? Because you want all of the pot liquor and the seasoning to cook first with the greens as it begins to cook the rest of the greens in the pot. So, you're going to take your smoked pork neck bones. Some of my collard greens is already sticking on there. It's okay. And you want to put your smoked meat in the bottom of your pan, of your pot. Okay, put that in there. Then you're going to stir it up a little bit as well. All right. Now, because this is a pot, you can actually warm up this pot. So, what you want to do is you want to cook your pot liquor. Now, I'm not sure what kind of stove you have, but I have an actual boiler eye on my stove, which means it gets hotter faster. And what I'm going to do is What I'm going to do is turn this on high, so this will boil faster. And what you want to do is let your meat and your pot liquor cook. That means you want to bring it to a boil, and you want to let it boil for at least 10 minutes. And then you're going to turn it off. And then we're going to put it in the Instapot, and then we're going to put the collard greens in to finish cooking the collard greens. Okay, once your pot liquor is cooked, what you now want to do is add your greens. Now, please make sure that you clean your greens, people. Clean your greens. Even if you're not going to cook them that same day, you find out that it's much easier to just pour your greens in the pot when it's time to cook if you prep your greens in advance. And like I said before, I like to wash and cut and freeze my greens because they come out so much more tender. And I just think it's because as it freezes, the water wilts the leaves a little bit, which is good. All right. All right. Once you put the collard greens in, you want to take your Instapot top. You want to make sure that your vent at the top is on closed, not open. Open means that you're releasing, when it says vent, basically the options they give you is seal or vent. And what you want to do is make sure that it's on seal, okay? Because if you put it on vent, your pressure cooking is not going to work because all the steam is going to come out. So the vent option is only for at the end when you're ready for the pressure cooking to stop and you trying to get your greens out of here because you don't have all this time for the pressure to release itself. You just click it on vent and it helps release the pressure faster so you can open your pot. So I got it on sealed and we're going to lock this top. Make sure it's down and you should hear a click. Then what you want to do is you want to plug it in. Now it's time for your settings. So what you want to do is you want to hit pressure cook. It automatically sets it to normal. If you want this to pressure cook more or higher, you would hit the plus button, but we're going to leave it at normal for this. And if you don't set the time, like let's just say I wanted it for more than 45 minutes or less, I would also hit that down button and it'll also change the time. And then your pressure level here is actually to adjust your low, normal, or high pressure level. So we left it on 45. It automatically starts on its own, and you leave it and set it, and you come back in 45 minutes. Now, since sometimes during the pressure cooking, even though your pressure cooker is sealed, sometimes some of the steam may come up, just a minimal, but I like for the steam to go up into my vent and not up under my cabinetry. So I usually turn my Instapot around so everything goes up to where the actual air vent is. If you are using this at home, make sure that you have this in an open area and not anything that's enclosed, because whatever this squirts out may damage your wood or whatever is right immediately above it. So make sure it's something open above it. And also the two items that you're still going to need, because after it finished cooking, you know you have to taste it. And once you taste it, you need to taste one. Do you need some more salt? Or how much sugar do you need to add, if you need to add any? So I always keep these two out until the greens are completely done, so I'll know whether to use it. But we'll come back in 45 minutes. So now the 45 minutes is up, and I let it sit in here for a while because I was doing some things. However, once it's done, you'll see that your Instapot will automatically keep the pot on low, and it keeps it on low just to keep it warm until you're ready to actually take the contents out. So I'm ready to take the contents out. However, I need to make sure that I vent the top to make sure all the pressure has been released. This is when your vent button is used. Let me show you. So that's your vent. Right now it's sealed. Now we're going to release it. And as you can see, the steam goes up, which is the reason why I say always have it where your vent over your stove, or you just have an open space. And I also have the fan on. I'm not sure if you actually hear it, but the fan is on. And what that's going to do is suck up whatever steam is coming out, and it won't damage your cabinetry. So while that's letting out, I push the cancel button here to turn it off. Now you just want to wait until all of the steam is released from the actual Instapot. And how will you know? Because that little silver piece right there, right now it's up, and when all the pressure is gone, it sinks down into the hole. So as long as you see that silver pressure button up and out of the black space, do not attempt to open your top. Make sure you wait until that pressure button actually drops down into the hole. I wanted to show you from this angle so you can see that it's elevated, and then I'll show you what it looks like once the steam is fully released. This is what we're paying attention to, that button there. See? See how it resided back down into its resting spot? That's when you know it's safe to open the top. Now that the pressure has been released and we open the top, now it's time to taste our greens to see if we need to add a little more sugar or salt. To unlock your top, you just twist it. I like to also unplug it. And then I'm going to twist it. Lift it up. It's going to have a lot of condensation, so make sure that you allow the steam, the condensation to drip into your pot. And then you want to stir your greens. Stir your greens. And you want to test your greens, but let me show you the greens. Here's your greens. Meat's falling off the bone. Now it's time for me to taste them and see if I need to add any salt or sugar. All right, I tasted my greens, and my greens are actually very tender, seasoned very well. It does not need any additional salt. And so now it's just time for me to add a little sugar just to take the little bite of some of the vinegar off. Now, when it comes to adding the sugar to the amount of greens I have there, and the amount of greens I have there are about basically, you know, like the bag of when you get from the grocery store, the bag of greens is about that much of greens. But I use 1/4 cup at a time. And for mine, I'm going to put 2 1/4 cups, which means a 1/2 cup of sugar for the amount of vinegar that I taste. And usually this is all I need. It's just a 1/2 cup. And what you're going to do is you're going to stir it. And after you stir your sugar, and basically, if you want to equal the amount of collard greens in here based on like crock pot size, I would say I have about 3 to 4 quarts of collard greens in here. for those of you who like to measure. All right. Collard greens are done. Sugar has been added. Final tasting has been complete. These greens are ready to be served. Now it's time to give this to Timmy, or should I say PT, to really let y'all know what it tastes like. Either it's a taste or it's trash. Hey.
Hey.
Time to taste these collard greens.
Let's see what we working with. We motherfucking hot.
They just came out the daggone pot.
But they good.
They good.
They fire.
They fire. Okay. Not fire like spicy, but
No.
fire like they good.
They're good.
So is taste or trash?
Taste.
Definitely taste.
No, more like eat.
More like eat. Okay. All right, everybody. That's how we have it. It's good.